Hi guys, and welcome to Art with Miss Zoe. I'm your host, Miss Zoe. Today we're going to look at a few techniques for painting. We are going to create this simple landscape with a nice night sky. So let's dive into today's art activity. For today's activity, you will need a canvas, paint, a medium filbert or flat paintbrush, and I'll show you what that looks like, a medium round tip paintbrush, and a small round tip paintbrush. And we're going to learn to use these paintbrushes properly. Okay, so let's check out our paintbrush types. So the first one is our filbert brush. So you notice that it is wide and flat, but it also has a rounded top. So it's very similar to our flat brush, except for our flat brush has a straight top. Then our round tip brush is literally round, which is, I think you could probably guess that from the name, and it has a pointed tip. Those are the three types of paintbrushes we'll be using today. So our first step is to paint the background. So a lot of people make the mistake of they want to paint the foreground first and then they get stuck trying to fill in the background. So with acrylic and oil, you really want to paint the background first, and then you're going to let it dry and paint on top of it. So I have laid out 4 colors. So I have white, pink, light purple, and dark purple. And I am using my filbert brush, just going back and forth and blending them together. And my paint got a little light or dark at the bottom, so I added a little more white, and then I blended a little more with that filbert brush. Now I'm going to let this dry, and I'm going to come back here in a moment. Step 2 is to paint the clouds. Alright, so my paint has dried. I have one little wet spot, and I'm actually going to use that with my round tip paintbrush to create a darker cloud. So I'm using this round tip paintbrush and I'm making these swirling motions, and I'm using that to create this fluffy cloud. And so because my paint was a little wet, I'm getting a little bit of that dark purple mixed in with my white. I'm going to do the same thing in a few other places to create some more clouds, and I'm going to keep them up high because I'm going to put trees down at the bottom. Now I'm going to paint my moon. You don't have to paint yours behind a cloud. You could paint it somewhere else. You could paint a crescent moon or a waxing or waning gibbous. It's up to you. So I'm going to fill in this moon with my paint. And I'm being careful to kind of go around the edges of my cloud so I don't mess up my cloud. And I'm going to come back later and add a little bit more to that once it's dried a little bit. Step 3 is to paint our trees. Now I'm going to clean off my brush, and I'm going to come back with that same medium round tip brush, and I'm going to create my trees. So I'm going to do that by making these V shapes that point down. And so what I'm doing is I'm applying pressure at the top of my stroke, and at the bottom I'm gently lifting my brush. That's allowing me to put paint on the canvas, but as I lift my brush, my stroke gets a little thinner, and so it makes that tree texture. So I'm going to do that a few more times to add some more trees, and I'm just painting them black so that they look like they're in the foreground. Step 4 is to add the stars. Okay, now I'm going to use my flat paintbrush, or I could use my filbert for this, and I'm going to flick white paint onto the background to create some small stars. You could skip this step if you don't want to put your finger on a paintbrush. I'm going to zoom in because it's kind of hard to see. So now you can see those white splatters. And so they're just very light, kind of hard to see. All right, now I'm going to use my small round tip paintbrush, and I'm just going to use the very tip to create some stars, some bigger stars. And I'm just using it to dot, dot, dot. And I'm really not pressing down hard at all, so I can keep those stars nice and small. Now I'm going to go in and add a little more white where I feel like I need it. And there we go. That is our simple landscape. I hope you enjoyed this project. Thanks for watching, and keep making.